Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 153. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, from beautiful Sauvage, Minnesota. It's been a little cold, but we're getting ready for turkey time. It's amazing here. I've been able to take off the week to play a lot of video games, so I'm excited to talk about them with some really cool people. Bringing in my Canadian friend, Mark Carabin, who already got to experience Canada Thanksgiving back in October when we were all thinking about spooky things like poltergeists. So Mark is already beating us up, but he gets to still experience Black Friday. So Mark, are you ready for Black Friday?
You know what? I think I took advantage of some early Black Friday sales. So I think I've already Black Friday'd my brains out this weekend and maybe went a little too hard, but here we are. I'll talk about some stuff later on, but yeah, totally enjoying the Merc and Turkey week festivities and Black Friday events for sure.
Excellent. Well, we are joined by a very special guest, a gentleman who's been around for the many stages of video game media and also from the early stages of anime coverage. And that is CJ, Chris Johnston, a.k.a. Re-Pac on social media. He's a co-host and producer of Player One podcast, but also was previously involved with Adult Swim's games. Did some great games there, and now he's involved in AR and VR. So, CJ, what do you prefer? I know people call you that. Some people call me Ox, but when it comes to it, what do you really love to be called?
You can call me CJ. Everybody, my friends, my good friends and coworkers have always called me CJ. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. My good friends say that, so call me Chris.
That's right.
We appreciate that. Well, very good. So we're really happy to have you on. You're such a joyful presence on social media, and it's been amazing. And you're now on Blue Skies, like I think everybody has gone to. I was on Threads. Threads is a little clunky because there's no DM, so I was messaging on Instagram because I'm like, apparently they don't want me to talk to people through that app. So we were able to connect. So thank you for having your DM open. And no, I was not trying to pitch you ideas on getting more SOE on your podcast. That's typically what it is.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. But before we get started, we always like to get to know people a little bit better about their gaming history. Sure. So the first question I always ask is, what is the first system you ever owned?
Oh, the first video game system I ever owned was a Magnavox Odyssey 2. Back in the 80s, yeah. It was right around the time the industry crashed in 84. My parents, my brother and I had been begging my parents for some video game system, anything, for so long, and they held out. But since the crash happened, everything was so super cheap that they relented, and we got the Odyssey 2 with the voice modulator plug-in also, and then we got a bunch of games because the games were super cheap too. The games were like $4. So we loaded up on games, and we didn't know that the crash happened or anything like that. All we knew was that we had video games in the house now, so we could play Casey Munchkin, which was kind of like Pac-Man, and Pickaxe Pete, which was kind of like Donkey Kong. And then there was a Quest for the Rings game that was kind of like an RPG, and all that stuff. So we had a lot of fun with our very cheap video games while the industry was dead. So it was fantastic. That was my first video game system. I'm an old schooler.
My first was the Atari 5200.
Very nice.
Once again, a system that was very cheap. My parents, they're like, well, the 2600 is really popular. Let's get you the 5200, and it doesn't play any of those cool games. Here's a system that had one of the worst joysticks in all the world, had like a weird overlay on its control with a numpad. And I looked at the Odyssey 2. I was pulling up. It looked like a computer keyboard, and I have no clue what you would do with that keyboard.
Yeah, it had a keyboard on it, and you could, the Quest for the Rings game, you could enter in player names, I think, or something like that. And then we also had a stock market like simulator game that you could enter things in. I didn't even know how to play that thing. That was way beyond my comprehension at the time. But yeah, and the voice module, it would speak to you too, with some of those games. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, full keyboard right there. You had to really touch those down because it was like the number pad on any of those controllers. It wasn't a good keyboard. It was like you really had to press.
Membrane with a little raised pad. Yeah, those were the worst.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did your parents know what they were getting into with the voice modulator thing, or did they think this was like some kind of Ouija board demon talking to you guys like through a TV? Like, what was the situation there? They're like, this is a great thing for kids.
I thought they thought it was awesome, and it was also super cheap. So
perfect.
Yeah,
it's like you could. Did it have like a type mode where you type in like a word, it would speak it? I
think it probably did.
Okay.
Yeah, it had kind of like a Hangman game or something like that, kind of similar. Yeah, and it had like math games that it would then speak as well. Yeah,
cool.
Wow,
it was a cool system.
Yeah. There's always somebody has a friend that has like the ColecoVision or the Intellivision. I had a friend that had a ColecoVision. My uncle had Intellivision. So we were pretty well rounded in like, systems that quite honestly Mark has probably never heard of. He's a little younger.
I had an Intellivision. My first console was an NES, but my uncle had owned an Intellivision that a little later, when I started kind of getting into more like video game history and stuff, probably closer to like junior high school. But I went back and found like the old Intellivision and tried out some of those games. And I forget what the other one, there was another one too that I could never get to work, but I remember the like controllers and like those, like the number pads and that kind of stuff that you're describing. So, but my proper first console was an NES.
Makes sense. Okay, CJ, question number 2.
Okay.
What was the first video game that you fell in love with?
Oh, this is easy. Crystal Castles.
Oh, nice.
It's an Atari arcade game. It's
the bear with a magic hat.
Yeah, the bear with the magic hat, and you had to like use a trackball controller that lit up as well, and you had to like use the trackball to collect all of these little gems in each of the levels. And it was sort of like an isometric 3D-ish perspective. You had to kind of like a Pac-Man maze almost happening, and you had to avoid enemies and collect the gems. This was the first game. It was located at an ice cream parlor in the small city that I grew up in. And this was the first game that I learned there were cheats or like Easter eggs in a game. Like this guy who was really good at the game showed me this level skip trick where you could skip from like the first or second level to like level 10 or 20 or something like that. And I thought that was so amazing that here like is this game and there's a secret thing inside of it that like gives you an advantage in score. I thought it was so cool. So that was like the first game that I was really all about. And I was pretty good at it too. Could get on the leaderboard.
It's tough with arcade games because unless you live close, I mean, when's the next time I'm going? Well, yeah. My mom was on a bowling league, and that's when I got to play arcade games. So
nice.
All right. The last question. What was the first console you bought with your own money?
With my own money. Okay, this is going to be, I think, the Sega Master System. Sega Master System.
Cool.
Well, what was the must-have game on the Master? Like, I need the Master System because I need to play Alex Kidd in Miracle World.
No.
I'm trying to remember the other. Was it?
Have you played that game? That game is certified trash.
Oh yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's really tough. My other friend had a Sega Master System with those weird game cards and yeah.
It was Double Dragon. So
yeah.
on the NES, I was such a fan of Double Dragon. That game is absolutely amazing. And then I heard, oh, well, it's coming out on the Sega Master System and it's better on the Master System. So I was like, holy crap, I got to get a Master System so that I could play this amazing version of Double Dragon. And then also, like, I would see in magazines like ads for Phantasy Star and Shinobi, and it's like these games look awesome. They look better graphically than NES games at the time. And hey, you know, they've got the light gun, but they also have 3D glasses. And
Right.
I had the 3D glasses that did the 3D missile Earth defense or whatever. I thought that was just so super cool. It didn't really, I mean, obviously the Master System didn't do well in the market. So eventually software support kind of died out. And I got rid of the Master System, unfortunately, but loved some of the games on it. Yeah, that was the first one I bought with my own money.
Yeah, once again, a hidden treasure. I mean, I don't even remember seeing commercials for it as a kid. I mean, I watched a lot of cartoons at the time. So I'm like, I don't know how people found out about this system because there weren't video game magazines really at that point.
Yeah, there were a few, but they were really hard to find. They weren't like everywhere like they were later. The way that I discovered the Master System was in the Midwest, there was this chain called Montgomery Ward.
Oh, yes.
And they had an electronics department that it might have been called Electric Avenue at the time. They like spun it off and they had like a Master System area. And I got my first taste of Master System graphics there and thought it was awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah, Montgomery Ward, service merchandise. There were a lot of... Even Ace Hardware had like video games for some reason. Don't know why. Just happened.
Well, and around the holidays, I don't know if you do this. I definitely do this. Growing up, the Sears catalog or like the JCPenney catalog, like they had the Sears Wish Book. Mm-hmm. I was like so into just looking at pictures of toys in these Christmas catalogs, right? And like circling the things and like dog-earing the pages of all the things that I might want. And you can find, you know, archives of those online. And
They're amazing.
I always flip through those around the holiday time just to get that nostalgia and that feeling of being excited about new video games. Some of those, by the way, never even came out. They were just like listed as a title. And maybe you saw a screenshot or artist's rendition of the of what the game would look like. But you still circled it. You're like, oh, Police Academy for NES? Yeah, I'll go ahead and circle that.
Yes.
Oh, that is amazing. I remember doing that. And actually, it's funny because my wife we've gotten catalogs again in the mail. So it's, I don't know if they're coming back or not, but yeah, circle them and say, I want all of these things, Mom and Dad.
Yeah. Like an Amazon Wish Book knockoff kind of thing this year. So it's kind of interesting. And, you know, like having a 4-year-old, I kind of like, I want that kind of like flipping through the Sears catalog Wish Book magic kind of thing. And I was like, okay, you know, if it's Amazon that's sending this thing, like there's still like a physical thing that he can go and circle. He really wants Hulk hands. That's like his one thing. And so, you know, I was like, go, okay, man, buddy, like let's find Hulk hands. Let's see what you want. And we'll make sure, you know, that's on your list. But like, you know, so that there is something like magic about that, like Wish Book.
Absolutely.
Feel.
Yes.
Knowing Amazon, they would just have normally send you just a Fire HD and said, here you go, everybody gets one. So all these ads, enjoy. Dinosaur Dracula, if you like that type of vibe, Dinosaur Dracula is a site I thoroughly enjoy. He does like the old Macy Days parade as well. Like he'll show like, it's He-Man and why were the Smurfs in this? And then it's Tony Danza. It's really, that's one of the best things in the world. Macy's Day Parade from the 80s.
Too good. It's wonderful. I love that.
It's amazing. Well, thank you for the memories, Chris. Everybody knows you a little bit better now. So with that, though, we've got to get into our thank you to the cool people that make this show happen. And that is our Patreon Secret Friends Squad. So, Mark, who are these awesome people?
These awesome people include our besties tier, Derek Trevelyan, a.k.a. the Figure Dude, Francie, the official hairstylist of Charlie, The SFU, I suppose. I'm just still waiting for my official SFU due, but we'll see. Francie, I don't know if she does house calls internationally, but we'll go from there. Xbox expansion pass and Charlie's Uncle Tim. The Friends with Benefits tier includes John Sedorf, Phoenix Sisters Entertainment, Brendan Myers, Corey NHD, aka the Boss Rush CEO, Matthew Keel, and Kurt Krug, aka He's Got Connections, as well as our Secret Friends Super Squad. That is the amazing Nias family, including Sean, Stella, and Henry. Thank you all. You can head over to patreon.com/secretfriendsunite for a free 7-day trial where you can get all of the benefits, exclusive shows, no ads, Discord benefits, all that kind of stuff. Try it out, and if you like it, stick around for as little as $2 a month and get all that stuff early, including this week I dropped Holocron Chronicles early. It was an exclusive interview that I did with E.K. Johnson, who wrote... my book was around here somewhere with the Ahsoka novel and the Padme trilogy. Really cool Star Wars interview, and a bunch of other great great exclusive shows, early drops, all that kind of stuff. So again, patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Check us out. And if you don't feel like or can't drop a couple of bucks our way, that's okay. Subscribe on YouTube, share the show, tell a friend. Everything helps just as much as throwing a couple of bucks our way. Everything is very much appreciated. But once again, thank you so much for the people that do support us in our Secret Friend Squad.
Yeah, we've been really lucky with interviews lately. You had your awesome interviews when you were at HalCon. Charlie got to interview Leonard Nimoy's son, David Nimoy. He just had a new book.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool interview he did, talking about his book. And, he did, I didn't realize this. He directed episodes of Babylon 5 and different things like that. Wasn't really as involved in Star Trek. So it was very cool, but it was more a book about him and his relationship with his father. So really cool there. And then we got to interview Al Jean from The Simpsons, Simpsons mega producer. Cool. That was an amazing thing too. Really cool guy. So if you want to check those out, check out Patreon. Check out free trial there. The cool part is, though, I also have a code for Call of Duty Black Ops 6 that I would like to give away for Xbox. And all you need to do is just either sign up for a trial on Patreon, leave a review on iTunes or Spotify, subscribe and comment on our YouTube video, and just DM me on Blue Skies or DM me on Instagram at toxtra, at Todd Oxtra there. So we'll reiterate that when we get to the end of the show, when everybody gets to give away their credentials. Excellent. So with that, Chris, this is something I need to prepare
CJ.
for. Oh, that's
you're
right.
Officially a friend now. Come on.
That's right. And I see you're a cat fan. Saw your cat go behind you. So very good. Yeah. I love little cats. So CJ, we do a segment called Buy, Rent, Return. You're an old hat. You remember you going to Blockbuster. Some games you bought, because you could buy them for back in the early days, $85, but then they got cheaper. But then you could rent them, or you could just this is horrible, didn't work, broken my player, return it. So we do that with our segment weekly. And this week, I thought, because of the Game Awards and all the hubbub there, I wanted to go back even further to the Spike VGX Awards. This was on Spike, started in 2003. So now we're 21 years of Game Awards, whether they were Spike or the Game Awards. So, and I want to look at their hosts. So it was very interesting. There's a cavalcade of interesting hosts who did the VGX. Samuel Jackson hosted 4 times.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Hell yeah.
Let's see. Jack Black hosted in 2008. I believe that was the one where he kept on talking Tim Schafer and he kept shouting his name out. That was pretty awesome. 2010, Neil Patrick Harris. 2011, Zachary Levi. Enough about Zachary. We don't have to talk about Zachary anymore. And then Joel McHale in 2013. He was the last host of the Game Awards, and then it turned into the VGAs in 2014. But I picked 3 different hosts, and you gentlemen have to pick to buy, rent, and return Neil Patrick Harris, Snoop Dogg, or David Spade. So, CJ? Pick wisely.
Oh man, this is a tough one here. I think I'm going to buy Neil Patrick Harris. I think it would be legendary.
Dairy.
Yeah. High five. I it's been a while since I've suited up, so yeah, suit up, wingman sort of thing. Yeah. No, yeah, he seems like a really good guy, chill. Snoop Dogg, I think I'd rent Snoop Dogg. I think Snoop Dogg is awesome. Just it's been an amazing ride to look at where he started as a rapper and has become like just a pop culture icon and a style icon. And it would be great to get his opinion on like the decor of my house, right? Like, or like do some cooking with Snoop Dogg. I that would be awesome. He can bring Martha Stewart with him. That'd be
exactly
cool too. I'd rent Snoop, and then I'd of course return David Spade because Joe Dirt. I'm sorry, you're back in the bin. You're getting
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to include that picture of David Spade as Joe Dirt. It's just, the mullet's just too great to keep down. Yeah. Okay, Mark, those are good picks, CJ. I love that. And by the way, Snoop will bring over a pair of his. I saw he had some really interesting Skechers shoes, which is the funny part is like Snoop Dogg and Skechers. It just doesn't seem like it works because Skechers is like for old people, but Snoop Dogg makes them legit. So there you go.
It's true.
Yeah. For me, I could spin this in two different ways because one, like picking, I think like CJ said, so, if Snoop was coming over my house kind of thing, I think that'd be pretty badass. And I may pick the same way, but I'm going to first read one of our write-in comments, and that's the Winter Gamer. Because I think I'm also going to copy that. So Winter Gamer, Brennan Myers, buy Snoop because he's a national treasure and actually plays video games. Like Snoop is going to be the big season ender for this season of Fortnite. Snoop, Eminem, Ice Spice, and a tribute to Juice WRLD. He is like not only a gamer, he is in video games. So hard to argue with Snoop being in some sort of like video game space. And I think, as a host who is also a gamer, I think is kind of special. So as a host of video game award shows, I think I have to buy Snoop, rent Neil Patrick Harris because fun musical numbers, suiting up, every commercial break saying, we're going to do the game of the year. It's going to be Legend. And then you got to wait for the commercial break. And then he comes back and says Dairy. Fun times. So yeah, agree with Winter Gamer. Rent MPH could go for a fun musical number, and return David Spade because he'll just feel out of place. No offense to David Spade. We just watched Grown Ups not that long ago. David Spade and
Chris
Adam
Rock,
Sandler, Chris
the
Rock,
crew, right?
That whole crew, right? Just randomly, like, what do you want to watch tonight? And just kind of like flicking through one of the streaming services, and then Grown Ups was there. And I was like, yeah, you know what? We haven't seen this in 15 years, and it's such a stupidly fun movie. But like as a video game award host, I don't know if he fits. So yeah, Brennan Myers. I'm stealing your answer. Great answers.
Like it too. Okay, Mark. I think you picked wisely. Picked wisely. I'll hit Chipotle Bear. He says buy Snoop, rent Joe Dirt, return Neil Patrick Harris, and then Bacon X Bacon Gaming says buy Snoop, rent Neil Patrick Harris, and return Joe Dirt. So I kind of feel like we've got a culmination, except for the rare Joe Dirt didn't get returned. I think he's only been returned not only once. So I'm going to say, I don't know if this is even possible. I'm going to buy both Neil Patrick Harris and Snoop Dogg, because I think they would make a great like odd couple.
Can they host together? Yes.
Why not?
Wait,
Why
can
not?
you do that in the rules of this game? Can you do that? Can you buy both?
Well, I'm gonna fill you in on something. Todd makes up the rules as we go, and often changes them, much to my detriment and the tearing apart of my mental sanity. So after we give our perfectly valid answers that follow the rules, Todd's going to make some shit up that makes us a little crazy. So the sooner you accept that, the more this show makes sense.
All right.
Yeah. Mark usually has to ask like a clarifying question, like when you say Spike host, are you talking about like the worst host or best host? And I'm like, thank you for bringing that up, Mark. It's like the it's like the curse of the monkey paw. Like if you don't ask the right question, you might get like, I get all the money in the world, but it's because you stole it.
Because of this like double host duty thing that you never dropped that we could do. It's all right.
Well, I'm going to buy, like I said, I'm going to buy both of them because I think they would be great together.
Absolutely.
Snoop would be like the casual guy when Neil's getting a little too like, Neil, this is your 5th musical number. We bring it back. There we go. And then I'm going to rent David Spade and return Joe Dirt. Does that work?
Oh, okay. All right. So no David Spade as a host, but if he does Joe Dirt, he's fired, and we get Snoop and NPH back.
David Spade might be good for like one category where he's the presenter, right?
Right. Okay.
Maybe he has got one good joke that doesn't offend the whole audience. But Joe Dirt's going to get up there and it's going to go bad. So he's going to be returned.
All right. I dig it.
Okay. Well, very good.
Strong lineup. Yes.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, and now you understand why Keeley's been the only host for his show because, well, Jeff Keeley. There we go.
I got to go to the Game Awards last year and witness the whole thing. It was great to see how everything was produced from the auditorium. It was amazing.
Did you get shots of caffeine that allowed you to stay up for what? How long? That'd be really
long show. Yeah, it was like 3.5 hours long. Yeah. No, I didn't need any caffeine. I was juiced on the energy of all the trailers and ads that I saw. It was great.
Plus, you got that amazing performance by Sam Lake, and
yes.
I mean that'd be amazing.
That was astounding to be able to witness in person, and I was pretty close to the stage too, because one of the games that we did, Humanity, was in the VR AR awards category, nominated for an award. So got invited to the show and got to sit pretty close up and watch that amazing musical number, which was awesome, and see the actors from Fallout come out on the stage and just everything. It was great. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was before Fallout was out, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, wow. She was
a couple of months before. Yeah.
Yeah. One question about Humanity.
Sure.
I played it on PS4. It's on or PS5. And then it was on VR1 and VR2, or just VR2?
It's both. Yeah, it's VR1 and VR2.
1 and 2.
Depending on which system, PS4 or PS5 you're playing on.
And it's also on Quest?
It is also on Quest, yeah.
It's amazing.
It's fantastic on Quest, too.
That game at times breaks my brain. It's it's an amazing game. And I remember my friend Sean Nias, he's one of the people I do a fantasy football podcast with them. He is big into VR. He has VR2. He has the Oculus Quest 1. He are 3, and then he played Humanity. He's like, this is just crazy. So I've never played in VR, so I don't even know what it's like, but just playing it regularly was a lot for me.
It's a different experience in VR because you can see everything at once. Like there's no screen cutting you off, so you can really like get into the puzzles. It's awesome. Yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, we'll talk about what we've been gaming, and Mark will be talking about VR. CJ, we're going to have you go first, actually. So what have you been gaming?
Well, I have been playing a little more Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. A fantastic game, harkens back to those old school top-down days of Zelda, but also giving you the freedom and the freedom to solve puzzles your own way with the Echo system. And I've just really been enjoying it. I've been kind of taking my time going through it. I don't want to like rush through it and then be done with it. Like I want to kind of, I don't know, savor the Zelda flavor because we don't get that many new Zelda games, right? Who knows when the next like open world 3D Zelda is going to even appear. So, but I'm really enjoying it. I like playing as Zelda. I like the puzzle solving mechanic of using the echoes. I love the graphic style. I wish it performed better on Switch because it does have those like stutters and it is noticeable, but it doesn't prevent you from having a good time with the game anyway. I'm pretty close to the end, I think. I'm like at the last stretch. I'm currently in the sort of winter ice temple right now, working my way through that. And yeah, just really enjoying it. Yeah.
I didn't get very far in the game, but I enjoyed what I played. Have you been bothered with, some people said it's great to play, but at times it's like your minions or your echoes to do the work for you can feel a little bit like, can you hurry up there? Can you kill the guy? Do you feel that way, or
I
you feel
feel that way?
Yeah,
I do. I definitely do. One tip that I got from a listener of Player One podcast, they said, spend some time just kind of exploring the world and don't like go to the next objective right away. Just explore, uncover the map. You'll find some echoes that will really, really help you that like attack immediately. So I did that and got a couple that really like you don't have to wait around for. And it hasn't been a problem since then.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. It's almost feels like a turn-based or almost like your minions are going and you're like, okay, come back, don't die all the time, or Pikmin-like almost in certain ways.
Yeah. Almost got to treat it more like an RTS.
Yeah.
Like, you're just kind of like guiding things, attack unit over this way, attack unit. But like, it's funny when you mention the things that attack instantly, because my son found one of those. And it's like, how am I getting schooled in a Zelda game by a 4-year-old? But he found this like spike log thing that just rolls through freaking everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
And like we went on very different paths. I've talked about this on the show, and I really just wanted to see how he explored this, how he treated this, and we walked through how to like copy the echoes and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, I just kind of like let him do his own thing. And when he found that, it was like, okay, wait, hold on. I got it. Like, where did you find this? Like, how did I miss this? And yeah, but that advice is so crucial to that game, depending on how you want to play it and how action oriented. But because up until then, I was like, in my mind, it was like, okay, this is an RPS. I put my units on the ground. I sit back. I watch them do their thing. I hope they're doing it right. If they're not, I recall them and hope the next time I drop them, they're pointed in the right direction. And then my 4-year-old finds a giant spike roller, and I'm just like, okay, all right, barbarian, let's do this. Very different play styles.
I do wish, though, that you were able to more directly, like, direct the echoes to do what you want. Like, a lot of the time, even with the sort of quick attacking echoes, there is kind of a lot of waiting around for them to do the thing that you want them to do, or, like, to be able to highlight the thing that you actually want versus the thing that the game thinks you want. Like, oftentimes those things are not in sync, and that would have been nice to see, but overall, I think it's a really, really well done original Zelda game, and I want more of this stuff. Like, I hope they don't just stop here. I want more top-down, old-school Zelda type games, and yeah, I just hope they keep making them, because who knows when we're going to get the next other Zelda, the mainline Zelda. Will it be another like 5-6 years? Like, gosh, I hope not.
It is interesting because it does feel like the stronger the system Nintendo has, the more interesting you get on on Zelda, because you get like all those DS games that those were less, I think, successful, but still like a Phantom Hourglass and the train game, Spirit Tracks, and then you actually did get to play a Spirit Zelda. So there is it's kind of like maybe they use this game as kind of like, well, we entered into more creativity in the 2D realm, but I know people are so excited about A Link Between Worlds potentially coming out. I mean, and maybe going to the the Ages games from Konami maybe could be.
Yeah.
That might be
was
harder
Capcom
because
remake.
Capcom. Yeah,
Capcom.
and maybe that's harder because it's third party and Nintendo is very cheap, so they may not want to like. I don't know how that works, but it is cool, and maybe we see them. Hey, did you like this? We're going to take this part from this part. Maybe we get the next 3D Zelda, and you are controlling minions. Maybe that's where it's like it all kind of comes.
Cool.
They try different things.
Yeah, I love that. You know, when Nintendo has room to really like go crazy and be weird, that's the best Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. We've been seeing that with all of their franchises, where we got like Mario Wonder doing some just crazy things where nobody thought they didn't think that they could reinvent 2D Mario, and they definitely did. After like, yeah, you're making all the Mario games, but we didn't give you the ability to turn into an elephant. There you go. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I've also been playing Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D. I don't know if you guys have been playing this at all.
We've heard about this, and I was so confused because I'm like, why are they starting with 3? And then someone I think mentioned, well, that's canonically the first game, I think. So I'm like, okay,
it is.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, they made 2 games and then they did a prequel and called it 3. And so the way that they're doing this sort of re-release of remakes is they're starting with 3 and then they're going to release 1 and 2 after. Okay. And man, I love this idea of we're going to take this old game that in Japan that they really loved, in America, not really. We didn't have the love for Dragon Quest, but
wait, Chris, I remember Nintendo gave everybody a copy of Dragon Warrior with Nintendo Power. So everybody loved it, right?
I don't think so. Let's check the trade-in value on that their game.
And fun fact, I used to play it at my neighbor, so I babysat, and I'm like, this game's great. And I'm like, oh, cursed belt. It doesn't really mean it's a cursed belt, right? I'm going to put this on. And then I died. So I'm like, okay, I'm never playing this game again. They out. That's my famous RPG story from the old days.
And then you never played another RPG again.
Nope. Swore it off. The cursed belt. I warn everybody about the cursed belt. I'm like, that's my key takeaway from RPGs. Seeing is believing. They wouldn't write cursed unless it was. Although I'll tell you, Dragon Age, I'm playing that right now, and there are a lot of traps that aren't marked traps, or chests that aren't marked trapped, and they're trapped. So I mean, I've been fooled again.
Fooled again.
Yes.
Well, I love this trend of taking a retro game like Dragon Quest 3 and redoing it in the way that you probably thought in your head at the time when you were younger that it should look, or this is the vision that you had in your head. And so Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D is like this just amazing looking, painterly, fantastic pixel graphic RPG that is both a modern RPG and a retro RPG at the same time. Like the battle system, very retro, turn-based battles, just like back in the late 80s when this thing originally came out. But it's got the modern era quality of life fixes that we've all sort of come to love about some of the more modern RPGs, like auto-equip the best stuff for me, or be able to save anywhere, or please circle on the map where my next point is, or being able to like change the difficulty halfway through the game. Like these are things that we now really love. And when you put those things into a game like Dragon Quest 3 with this amazing visual style, you really get like this great package that's like half nostalgia and half like, I can't believe this is like a modern RPG. This is so good because it's polished and it looks great and it has voice acting, which is kind of weird.
Wait, it has voice acting?
It does. Yeah. There's cinematic scenes where they have voice acting. And it's a little bit, it sort of brings you back to that Sega CD era where you had the 2D RPGs, but they also had voice acting. So it's still like a pixel mouth flap talking, but real voices. And it's kind of cool. And just amazing music too, like actual orchestrated music. Wow. And it's just a beautiful package. It's like it's a full priced game. So it's a $60 game, but it's worth it because it brings you back to this moment in time. Even though I have no nostalgia for Dragon Warrior 3 or Dragon Quest 3, it evokes the time, right? The time when we were growing up and playing those games and what that was like. So highly recommended. It's so good. Even if, maybe you loved RPGs in the past and you dropped off of them because modern RPGs are like doing homework. This one, very easy breezy, fun, and it has 3 difficulty modes, like I said. So in the lowest one, you can't even die. It will leave you at 1 HP. Wow. So that's kind of nice.
The battle of attrition.
Yeah, I have not run into a cursed belt yet, but if I do, I will not put it on. I will.
Oh, please do not. If you do, CJ, you have to quit gaming forever.
Okay, that's a deal. That's a deal.
Okay, yeah.
I will install the cursed belt.
This is like the 5th 2D HD game, right? Because you had Triangle Strategy 1 and 2, you had Octopath Traveler, Live Alive, and now this.
Yep.
There's going to be 2 more games in the style, right?
Yeah, 2 more Dragon Quest games coming out in the spring. Yep. Dragon Quest 1 and 2. Yep.
I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to make a statement. I would love to see this, but in more like go back to that 8-bit era, but a little bit different genres too. Some like action RPGs. I think of like, even like the Legend of Zelda, if they've talked about ever going back to the original Legend of Zelda, don't have to go all HD, whatever. But if you do something like really cool like that, inspired, that'd be amazing. Or totally. Castlevania, even like the early Castlevania games would look amazing in that style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they would look awesome. And I'd love to even see, do a Super Mario All-Stars sort of thing where you make the old Mario games look like this, where it's just teeming with life and it's so vibrant, and it would be awesome. I would love that.
I would love, I appreciated what they tried or what they did with like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, but seeing, even if they wanted to skip the first generation, seeing Gold and Silver in this kind of art style, really evoking some of that original Pokemon artwork, like hand-drawn Pokemon artwork, I think would be so incredible. And like you said, like teeming with life, this vibrant world, and take some of those newer things of like some of the Pokemon actually appearing on the overworld and that kind of stuff. Or at least like you can kind of see them flitting through trees and tall grass and that kind of stuff before you enter it, I think would be just magical.
That'd be killer. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me, I remember the 3DS where there was those classics. They had the 3D mode, like Kid Icarus and so.
Oh yeah,
those were really fun and neat and cool. There's even some VR engines. I can't remember what the engine is in VR, where it takes classic games, however you will find those games, but takes them in VR so you can actually play sideways with them and play with the dimensionality. Cool. It is really cool. There's something on Quest, Mark. I can point you in the right direction if you ever try it out. I think you'd love it. Yeah, I just think there's so many ways to play with those original artwork that's amazing in the gameplay, but really do some cool things with it.
There's some people on social media that do this kind of thing where it's like they re-envision a classic game with like HD-ified visuals, and they always look awesome. I always throw them a like whenever I see them on my timeline. I just want to see more of this type of thing. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, I remember there was someone did I can't remember the name of the game, but it was basically a first-person Legend of Zelda, but with the Legend of Zelda artwork, and it was neat. I thought it was just really cool to see doing that from that like Link's perspective. It was great. And I will give one more pitch for 3D Dot Game Hero on the PS3. That was taking voxel pixel art with. And it's trapped on the PS3. I don't know why. That's from Software, I believe, who did it. So it's a weird game, but oh well. Yeah, awesome. Love it, CJ. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I will hope to get back to Zelda Echoes of Wisdom.
You should. It depends when you stopped, but I think it gets better as it goes on.
I'm very early. I am very early is the best way to say it. So yeah, so I'm very early. I think after the first time, I'm like, oh, I got to talk to people. I don't want to talk to people. I just want to go out and explore the world. But it's just.
Well, you should do that. You should do that and get as many echoes, and then go talk to people and do your quests or whatever.
That's true. I guess I got to do that. Oh yeah. Okay. Mark, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a mix of things, and I'm going to touch on a few pretty quickly. I had to throw a mention in here to Pac-Man World Re-Pac. My son just stumbled upon this game and is suddenly obsessed with Pac-Man. And we talked so much about like retro games and that kind of stuff earlier on, and old school arcade games. Look at the Pac-Man love; it's going straight through multiple years, multiple fandoms and generations. Todd, what did you just brought some kind of?
So I got this from Namco. So Mark, you can actually get this for super cheap. It's a collector's edition with Superman Re-Pac. Comes with this awesome like metal Pac-Man with ghosts, and it opens up and there's like a Pac-Man inside it. So it's like a mecha beast.
Wow.
So I know what you're talking about. And he just fell. Sorry, Pac-Man.
Yeah. We tried a demo for this one and he fell in love with that. So I said, okay, well, let's get the full game. It went on sale for like stupidly cheap on Switch. So it was a kind of a no-brainer, and he's been absolutely loving that. And I've played a bit of it myself as well. So just talking about, early arcade games and all that kind of stuff earlier kind of made me think of that one. But I've personally, aside from playing just with my son, I've been putting more time into Mario and Luigi Brothership, which coming off of my replay of Superstar Saga on my Game Boy SP thing, Ambernick device, I'm absolutely loving. Some of the things. I get where some of the complaints are, but for the most part, I'm having a really good time with it and really enjoying, the kind of upgrade in visuals, obviously from a Game Boy Advance game. Some of the jokes are a little repeaty, but like, I think it's one of those times where for some of the Mario and Luigi games, I think some people hold those in a really high regard for nostalgia's sake. And then they come to this a little bit more mature, and the jokes are still aimed at kids. So when you were a kid playing Superstar Saga or one of the other games, Inside Story or whatever, those jokes absolutely slapped. And now that you're a little bit older and maybe like writing for review sites or doing whatever, and you play this game and you're expecting it to live up to those childhood memories, kind of like CJ said, like this, you get those games that feel like the games felt in your mind. And I think that might be the case with some of the reviews I've seen for this, because I came to the Mario and Luigi games later in life. I missed those on handhelds when I was younger. So I played all of those where I always thought the jokes were corny. I always thought, some of the writing was like a little like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. And it's like goofy, and I enjoy that. And I'm not saying this one's like better or worse than any of them. I find like so far from what I've seen and played, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. That's the level of corniness I kind of expect from a Mario and Luigi game. And Brothership's kind of fun so far. So I'm enjoying it. Another one we've been playing, my son's obsession with Kirby continues. So I picked up Kirby's Return to Dreamland.
Oh my God, Mark. This is like a flashback to when my son was a kid on the Wii. He loved this game.
Yeah. I needed to play something other than what's the newest Kirby game?
The Dream Course? The one where it's the 3D World Kirby game, right? I love that game too.
That's a fantastic game. Yeah.
It's a great game. It's an amazing game, but I've beaten it 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
So it's time for like a new Kirby game in the house. So it was between this one and Star Allies, and I let him choose.
He picked the right one.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We've played the demos. This game's fantastic. We've been playing the whole thing through 2-player co-op mode. I think we're on world 4 now. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. I love that you can, as a second player, just kind of like drop in and drop out. And every once in a while he'll want to be first player. And it's like, dude, this is a little bit tough. Can I please take over first player? Because second player can die all they want. Doesn't matter. They always just pop right back. And that's great when you're playing with a 4-year-old, if he's that player. But when it's the first player and he's just like, hey, what does this void to nothingness do? And it's like, well, that kills you instantly, bud. Let's start at the beginning of the stage. Cool. Then it, but anyway, we've been making our way through, and it's been a lot of fun. So I think you made a really, really good choice with that one.
The most epic part of that game, Mark, is when Kirby gets this like sword and it like takes up the whole stage.
Dude, those super, whatever it is, the super powers or whatever, so good. The fire one where you just send a dragon flying through all the enemies on stage, and some of them, pop up to the front of the screen. Again, where CJ mentioned Double Dragon earlier, totally reminds me of Battletoads Double Dragon, where you can, or like the Ninja Turtles and that kind of stuff, where you can like hit an enemy so hard they fly at the screen. All those old school games that I used to absolutely love. And this is bringing those back. And I missed Return to Dreamland on Wii.
The Wii.
It was on the Wii. Yeah.
So a game I've completely missed up until this point. So I'm very, very happy to return to it.
There was some good Kirby games on the 3DS also. If you're looking for another one, Planet Robobot
was
amazing.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah. We've been through all the Kirby games. There's so much Kirby in my house. The 3DS. I need a new 3DS battery for my new 3DS because that one has seen some work. I've played a lot of Kirby recently. My kids just absolutely obsessed. Actually, the con that we went to a couple of weeks ago, I got a new like knitted plush Kirby that he just needed.
Nice.
So yeah, more physical Kirby and Kirby games. It's all over the place, which is like, it's really cool because that's one series that like I'd see, and every once in a while I'd pick something up, but like big blind spot for me for like Nintendo first party games that I just, for whatever reason, like missed a whole lot of the series. And it's really cool having this tiny goblin that lives in my house that's like, I need a new Kirby game. So it's just great.
Well, Kirby had a curse, right? Oh, at the end of the Nintendo system, release the Kirby. So it got a bad rep, right?
So, but like Canvas Curse, Rainbow, the one where you drew with the DS, those games were awesome. Some of my favorites for the DS, 3DS era. But like proper Kirby games, for some reason, when they weren't doing some really weird shit, like making them out of like yarn or clay or whatever.
Oh, Epic Yarn was amazing. I loved Epic Yarn. Yeah.
But when they weren't doing some weird gimmick thing with Kirby, for some reason, I missed it. Yeah. So like I played all those like experimental strange Kirby games and then missed like the core franchise. So like hitting Return to Dreamland is like, yeah, okay, I see why this franchise is where it is. So really, really happy to be playing that one. And then finally, you mentioned I was going to be talking about VR. Yes, I am selling my Quest 2. So if anyone locally, or I mean, if you want to pay for shipping, you can have my Quest 2.
I saw Joey Ferris is doing the same thing.
Is he? Okay, yeah. I saw he just got 3 too.
Anybody want to buy Quest 1? It's very sexy.
Perfect. So yeah, I was very happy. I saw the price, I don't know, Black Friday offers or whatever it was, a price drop for the Quest 3S. And there were some offers for it. So I said, you know what, screw it. Let's go. I went all in on Meta stuff in the last couple of weeks. I got the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. I got the Quest 3S. Zuckerberg just owns my life. Did he
send you a thank you? He said like, thank you, Mark. Yeah. I can teach you Taekwondo or karate.
High five at the next meeting of the Marks. Well, yeah. Anyway, I'm really loving the 3S. I had mentioned before to CJ, like, I think if I had have tried a Quest 3 with the pancake lens and seeing all the benefits that system has, I don't know if I'd be able to go back. So going just with the Quest 3S is a very calculated move on my part, because I knew it was kind of an incremental jump, but at least I'd be able to play Batman. Yep. And some of my games would look prettier.
It's the same hardware as the 3, but just not the lenses. So
that's right.
Should be good for a while, right? Exactly. I mean, that's a good thing. It's kind of like the life. You're not feeling like you're going to be shorted. Like I felt like I was shorted with the Quest 1, because it was like, here's the Quest 1. Just kidding. Here's Quest 2. It's much better.
And I have to tell you, man, like the AR stuff is so cool, so worth the upgrade. So even just like the built-in, like the first encounters where the fuzzy little alien thingies were like bursting through my physical walls of my house and through the ceiling and leaving debris on the floor in an accurate way, like that it actually hit the floor and like interacted with stuff, was just blowing my mind. And even as much as like the overlay of the guns that you blast these little things with over my hands in a really seamless and perfect way that tracked incredibly well, was such a great showcase for it. I also really enjoyed my wife's been playing through Breath of the Wild again, and I really enjoy being able to sit with her, and she was playing on the TV the other day, so I just tossed a screen up in the living room, still passed through, and played my Xbox through Game Pass. So it was great. I was just playing Fortnite on this screen in the living room, floating next to our actual TV, so I could still see what she was doing in Breath of the Wild and interact with her sitting on the couch next to me. But I was actively playing Fortnite, and it was such a surreal experience, like with an actual Xbox controller, but like having this weird floating curved display static in my living room. I cannot get over how good it is just keeping position, because I could look at her and turn back and the screen is exactly where it was pinned to my living room. It is super impressive.
I got a pro tip for you, Mark. You know how Apple Vision Pro has the eyes? I think you should get like those googly eyes and put them right on the Quest, so Loren thinks it's you. She's like, honey, you looking at me? And you go up and down.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm looking at Mark.
I think that's going to happen. I'm going to take a trip to Michael's this week and get some giant googly eyes, because I don't think I can go small with this. I think I need some like real big, like
it shows you have real emotion and you're really engaged.
Exactly.
That's right.
I think that needs to happen. So I'm really, but
how is Batman though, Mark?
I haven't played Batman.
Okay.
I've been so obsessed with like the AR stuff that I haven't jumped into Batman yet. I'm
playing with the box, Todd. I opened the box and the box is awesome.
Okay. In my defense, it's Monday and I picked the thing up. Is it Saturday? Saturday night.
Okay.
So it was, So I basically had yesterday to play with it. Really set it up Saturday night, transferred my stuff, downloaded all the games.
So the next episode we will hear all about I'm Batman.
I will 100% be Batman, or I will not be Batman and I will be Alfred instead, and have been cleaning up Batman's puke, because we'll see if the motion sickness gets me. I don't think it will. We'll see.
You had a Quest 2 before, though, right? Like, did you have problems with motion sickness with that?
Not usually.
Not usually. Okay.
Not usually.
What about the AC Creed game, Mark? You played the Assassin's Creed game, right?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, Ubisoft said they were going to send a code for that, and they didn't, and then I forgot to pick it up, and here we are. Full disclosure, that's my Assassin's Creed VR story. Most of the time I'm fine in VR. I've played several games where there is that kind of motion, or you're moving or warping. There was one where I really felt queasy, and I can't remember which game that was, but it was like, shoot, I'm gonna have to go through my library and figure out what it was, but I don't think so. I'm usually pretty good with motion sickness, but I said like that was kind of the joke with my wife about this one is like I can't wait to play this Batman game. I'm buying this because for a big reason of it is so I can play this Batman game VR and watch. This is the one game that makes me sick.
So you said, bring me my bat bucket, Alfred.
My bat bucket, 100%.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that now, like modern VR games have comfort modes that you can really like toggle like a vignette effect to really like help with that. So it may be fine. I think Batman probably has enough comfort things where you'll be fine.
I think so. I'm playing it up for comic effect, but I think I'll be all right.
Well, plus you probably got 3 months of MetaQuest Plus in your new purchase, right?
Nice.
So you can download all those games that are on there, which, by the way, Tetris Effect Connected by Enhanced, the company I worked for, is on MetaQuest Plus. So download that and try that.
You'll have a whale in front of your face.
Oh, I've
never done that in VR. I played it just real.
So
it was so crazy just in reality. VR. Yeah. My brain will be going out my ears.
It's great in VR and it's on Quest Plus. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
That game is insane in VR. That is one that I have played. So good. And I have to check out Humanity now that you mentioned it.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing that game, but I'm definitely going to have to.
Well, because the library just goes, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And I know you're not a PC guy, Mark, but if you have the game, having Game Pass on there is pretty cool. Yeah.
Especially now where the Game Pass doing the play your own games thing.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see some of my library on there.
Yeah.
As well as just the Game Pass games. So I did also play Jedi Survivor. Jumped in a little bit of that one, and it was just like, oh man, this is so good. Just again, this floating screen in my living room that was just blowing my mind. So whole bunch of fun with the Quest 3S and more to come for sure. Todd,
I was just going to ask really with CJ because. Is the perks of working for a VR company you get like all the gear? I mean, are you getting like the weirdest like PC VR where it's like it costs $18,000? There's a bodysuit involved. There's a track thing that you have, so you're like in a hamster wheel. Do you get all the gear to try out the games and experience it? Oh, okay, great. So you're not making this very attractive, CJ.
No. I mean, I bought my own VR headsets, so yeah.
Okay. And what do you currently have?
I have a Quest 3. Okay. Yeah, those pancake lenses. You were absolutely right. Once you experience that, you're not going back.
I had to laugh. Luke Lore got gifted a 3S.
Yeah.
He actually could to try out Batman and give a review. He gave that away to a friend who's a veteran, and he bought a 3. So it's like the circle of life is crazy. It's kind of crazy how that all works. And then I just saw that talking about Black Friday deals, PSVR 2 is going to be like $375. Comes with Horizon, and now that it works with PC, that's not a bad deal if you need a headset for PC too, right? So
that really it hurts my heart because PSVR 2, let me tell you, is so nice. It's really good, and especially the haptics in the headset are such a nice like
you feel it
thing. You can feel it, and the eye tracking is so cool. Like once you experience that, it's like I don't want VR to be any other way. But man, it breaks my heart that Sony and just in general the support, and also I think players just didn't want it for whatever reason. I mean, VR gaming in general is kind of this like separate thing, almost like mobile gaming, right? You're either into it or you know nothing about it. And there are so many games that are awesome in VR, but if you're not in that space, you don't know what they are because they're not like, you get very few that are Horizon or like any other console level franchises that you will lure you over. But then there's like Walkabout Golf and Dungeons of Eternity and all these like
Demio. People love Demio,
yes.
being, dropping your characters and having them do basically a D&D game right in front of you.
Yeah, and Moss and all these games.
Oh,
like
Star Trek, what was it? Bridge Crew. Yeah. I mean,
Moss
so
1
good.
and 2, just like a reason to buy VR alone. If that's the only thing you play, and like toss in a couple, like you said, like Walkabout Mini Golf and a couple of other those like fun little like Wii-esque kind of games.
Yeah.
But like, oh man, Moss and Moss 2 are so effing good. Like I'm thinking about playing Moss 1 again because I've heard it's enhanced for the 3.
It is, yeah. They did both of them are upgraded.
Yeah, okay. I need to play through that series again.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with PlayStation VR to VR2, they cut off the library. That was such a huge challenge because you're like, well, all my games will travel with me, and like the old Iron Man game will come over, and that came out to Quest, and it's just. I hope there's a little bit more camaraderie and sharing in VR, because I've always said if Xbox wanted to open up their relationship and just really build that with Xbox, I mean, it's been so happy to have Steam Link work with Quest openly and to have Xbox do the same thing. That would be amazing. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. And by the way, Target has a Black Friday deal on the Quest 3S. You get a $75 Target gift card. So I may be jumping in on that because I just need something. I need the nudge. And it's like, honey, you can buy like things.
I'm giving you $75.
Exactly. It's like, why wouldn't I do this? We're losing money if I don't do this.
There's one directly through Meta. I got an email about it today, which of course is like 2 days after I bought the friggin' thing at Best Buy. Not complaining. I got a great deal on like an Elite strap and everything else too. But apparently if you buy it straight through Meta, you get $100 store credit as well on top of Batman and the 3-month Quest Plus trial.
That's amazing.
So 100 last time I checked is more than 75.
Yeah. You made the mortal sin of buying anything that you need in October. Wait until the last week of November. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, for myself, I continue to play Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I know people are upset about this game, but I'm not. I'm loving it. My biggest conundrum is who to romance. I think I might have gotten a couple people's their hopes up. And like, no, I'm taking that back. I don't know if it's gonna matter. They find like there's gonna be like the weird like sitcom where it's like, wait, we're all on a date together, and I've got to go like entertain the dates throughout the night. I don't know. I don't want it. That would be amazing. Like the awkward. I got to go to the bathroom, or I got to take a call, but there aren't cell phones in our age. Well, there are now because I need a call. It's been amazing. I love it so much. It reminds me so much of Mass Effect with the companion quests, which I'm completely in right now. And I'm like, this is amazing. You can give your companion gifts, which is amazing too. It's like to make their area spruce up. You can decorate your place. I love it. I think it's amazing. I'm just loving it. I'm like 24 hours in. I know I've got so much more to do, but I'm just really embracing it. And I like the fact that the way it tells its story is not just through the awkward cutscenes. It's also building lore through different areas. So, and I'm just enjoying my character and how you can build your companions out, go on missions together, get some more camaraderie through it, but also figure out how they play together. Because one of the big things is the synergy effects between like, oh, you do this effect, this pairs well with this effect, and then it does something really cool. So I'm really enjoying it quite a bit. So it's pretty awesome. I don't know how long the game is, but I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to enjoy it because I don't get this. BioWare doesn't put games out very often, folks. So I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts, because after this, Mass Effect 4 in 2027, nobody knows. Just along for the ride. Something that I missed out on to talk about during Shocktober was this little guy. I don't know if you can see it. The Retrorealms Halloween Evil Dead Collection, which they released, which was really fun. So it's basically two franchises together. I got like the collector's edition, special edition. It looks like a VHS tape, which is so great. But it also came with a Michael Myers plushie, which I'm like, I hope it doesn't actually come alive and kill me, but that's okay. But the games are so much fun because they're like 16-bit. They're done by WayForward, which WayForward, I don't know how Nintendo has not bought them. They are amazing. The gameplay is amazing. It does like this mix of the real world, and if you move like this device, it takes you into like the zombie world or the demon world. It's great. The campaigns are essentially the same, whether you are like Michael Myers, but they have different quests. You can play Laurie Strode. There are and there's even collectible cards that you can use this. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun. At times it's very hard, but it's that 16-bit like feel, but with WayForward's care. Mark knows WayForward because he loves the Shantae games. I've loved all of their games. Mummy Remastered. I mean, they are such a gem of a developer that I just hope they keep doing things like this. I want like other franchises from my youth. Like I want to Escape from LA. I want a Big Trouble in Little China game. Whatever it takes, please make those happen. I'm going to ask you guys really quickly if you could get one weird like franchise you love as a 16-bit that WayForward could direct, what would you make them do?
Jaws, NES Jaws.
The NES Jaws game.
Redo NES Jaws as a good game.
How about the Friday the 13th game on NES?
I mean, that's the easy answer, right?
Where you're throwing stones at Jason's like, what am I even doing here? Mark, what is it?
Goonies.
Oh, well, there was. Yeah, there was
Goonies 2.
Goonies 2. Yeah,
that was the game that they released.
Yeah.
There's like the sequel to Goonies that they released.
Yeah, it happened.
So like toss that in as a bonus material, but I want them to like take like this is the Goonies game that should have been released back in the day.
Yes.
A few modern enhancements and everything, but otherwise you're just like playing through the movie as you would like a good franchise tie-in game back in the day. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I can't wait to take on Mama Fratelli in that boss level.
Yes.
She's just tossing her sons at you. Like, go get them, boys. I love that. Oh, boy. Love it. And lastly, I played the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. So once again, spooky time coming back. This is a love letter to Dead Rising 1 on the 360. And they have completely remastered this game from graphics, controls, modern things. What they didn't really change was the mission structure, the mapping, how you get to things, and some of the awkward dialogue, which is like, I said something, I'm waiting for someone to react to it, and they finally do. Some of the awkward Capcom struggled in the early 360 days with some of their like dialogue and things like that. Well, they have for a long time, but this game definitely feels like it's from that. It's like the 2D HD game that we just talked about, where the only thing that didn't really change was the narrative and some of the way pathing and things like that. But it looks great, plays great. But they still keep like the time based missions in there. You could lose people they have to rescue, but if you're really wanting to get back into it, or maybe you missed it in the 360 and you don't want to play that original version, this is a great way to play this game. It looks great and plays great. Camera is kind of interesting where you're taking pictures again, so it kind of feels like Pokemon Oh No Go, like, oh no, the Pokemon are going to kill me, and you get graded and you get points for your pictures, so that's kind of fun. And I am pleased to know that Frank West can be bald, so that's what I chose.
Well, there you go.
Excellent.
I feel included.
Nice.
Inclusiveness. Yeah. More bald people in video games, please. He just needs to be like 5'4", though, and then I'll feel completely included in the conversation.
Yeah. Now, did you play this game back in the day, and what did you think of the save system and the sort of die and retry sort of system that Dead Rising has going?
I did, and I found that very frustrating back in the day. So for me, it was like I actually glommed on back into the Dead Rising games with 3 and beyond. Okay. It just went like, we're throwing that out. We're just going to make it a wacky, weird. We're going to make a mini game with the mini golf in these games. We're going to go full on Capcom versus whatever, a 3D Ultra Mix edition. I I like that version, but I loved going back to try this out to see if the time-based missions were going to drive me nuts. But I think I still love it. That the very beginning of the game, the reason why things went to hell was an old woman wanted her dog, and she was going to condemn everybody to hell so she could get her dog, and she ended up dying anyways, and the poodle turned into a zombie. So,
that's right.
Lessons were not learned.
They were not.
No,
they were not.
Never.
No, not at all. Well, that wraps up what we've been gaming. But before we do that, please check out this wonderful ad that Patreons don't have to listen to. Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show. Now we get into the bonus round. So I know that a lot of people are probably tired about all of the discussion about the Game Awards and their categories that just came out, and why it's frustrating for many people because certain games didn't get their flowers, certain games are getting their flowers again, and it's a little bit challenging at times when we talk about the world of games and award shows. There's many out there, the DICE Awards, BAFTAs, there's many others too. And one of the first Game of the Year awards, which already happened, which is just crazy because it seems so early, is the Golden Joystick Awards. It's been around for 40 plus years from, I believe, one of the primary media companies, which is, I'm blanking on the name of the media company, but they do a lot of the traditional media websites, plus also journalism. Is it not Forward? I can't remember. But
Future?
Yes, Future Games. So, and they actually, Ben Starr hosted it. Looked pretty cool. But the funny part is they basically get their categories together in October, and then they change it out. So it's 12 months rolling. But still, if a game came out in November, it really doesn't get an opportunity to really be included, especially if you need to review it. So, but they are primarily a fan-based weighted award show, and their categories are really unique. They do have a DLC category. They actually have a best hardware award. So they go really deep into different categories that are really different than what we do. So some people have glommed on that they like that because it's not really tied to like media critics and things like that. There is a board that kind of oversees kind of things and puts them together in regards to that. So it's not like 85 million games. They kind of put together kind of like what should be supported in nominations. So at this point, I'm just trying to think, CJ, have you actually paid attention to the Golden Joystick Awards? Because I didn't realize how old it was.
I have, yeah. On the working for a publisher, you do kind of pay attention to all of the various awards that come around. So yeah, I have been paying attention to the Golden Joysticks. Because humanity was nominated for a golden.
There you go. You got to know. I mean, and you got to toot your own horn when you actually win or you're nominated and share, because getting nominated is just half the battle, right? I mean,
it's true.
How many VR games have not got, or puzzle-based games didn't get an award? So I'll just go through this really quick. Best audio design, Astrobot. Best soundtrack, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Best storytelling, same game. Best multiplayer game, Helldivers 2. Best visual design, Black Myth Wukong. And I will say Black Myth Wukong, you'll hear about this game a lot because it is a Chinese-based mythology, and it is really one of their first big games that got represented. So China being involved is pretty big, because when fans get involved, there are more Chinese people than anywhere else in the world. So that can really change our perspective on what happens. Best indie game, Balatro, which is great because it was on consoles. I just bought it on Google Play for on mobile. Right now, Google Play, you get like 30% off or something a game. So I used my code. It was part of Black Friday to get that. So I'm really going to give that my best, because I tried it on console. I'm like, this is a mobile game for me. So very excited for that. Best indie game, self-published, another Crab's Treasure. Very fun game. My son loved that. It's like a Souls-like with crabs. Very cool. Studio of the Year, Team Asobi with Astrobot. Best lead performer, Cody Christian. Do you want me to keep going through all these? I'll pick out a category that seems interesting. Breakthrough Award, Critics' Choice. I like that category. So basically, it's a game that kind of took everybody by storm, but may not capture everyone's imagination when it's facing off against huge games. And that's Balatro. Still Playing Award. That's kind of cool. Minecraft. Still Playing Award. Mobile, Honkai Star Rail. They separate PC game from console game of the year. So we had Satisfactory and Helldivers 2. Most Wanted, so most anticipated, once again. But then there's a Critics' Choice Award. So the critics do get a voice in this, and that's Helldivers 2. But then they have expansion, which happened, which Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. Best game in hardware. Best early access game. And hardware was Steam Deck OLED. Lethal Company. I know this game got so much buzz and but so it's kind of cool that a game that gets some notoriety early on, that basically gets some flowers, because those games get so easily forgotten.
It's true.
Best game trailer. That's a very weird award. Streamer's Choice Award, Chained Together. I don't know what that game is.
It's a platformer. I don't know if have you heard of the game Only Up? Do you know what Only Up is?
Yep. I basically just keep going up. And it's like weird and strange. Yes.
So this is basically Only Up, but for 2 players, and they are chained together, like the title of the game says. And you have to make the jumps and do the timing all together, of course, sort of synchronized, right? Otherwise, the other person will fall off and drag you down with them. And it's a lot of fun to watch on Twitch, and not surprised that it got this award. Yeah.
Play that with your spouses. They'll love that. It'll lead to good nights. It's like, what's the game where you're making
fantastic
Overcooked? Yes, it's Overcooked. Yeah, the game. Oh, yeah. It's ended relationships. Best game adaptation, of course. The one that's weird is they call it the ultimate game of the year, which makes it just, I love that ultimate Black Myth Wukong. So that's interesting how they do it, and it's already happened. And they do they basically cut off their nominations in October, and they basically do the rolling 12. So that is the Golden Joystick. There'll be many more awards with Player One Podcast. CJ, when you approach recognizing games, do you feel like a static process after 18 years? Do you feel like it's always changing?
It has been a static process for maybe 16 of the last 18 years. Yeah.
Yes.
Because nowadays, I don't know about you guys, but games often go outside of their release year for me and my co-hosts. And then the DLC for some games, you play it in a different year than the game came out, and then you're all about that game again. And I kind of get it.
Yeah. Or like, sometimes there's you know that the game's going to have DLC. You wait for a sale. You play it when the DLC came out, but for the first time. So you're experiencing the game plus the DLC.
Yeah.
Months later or a year later than everyone else who jumped on the game super early. And I know that's the state I'm at with Star Wars Outlaws right now. I was talking to a friend earlier who was ranting and raving about Outlaws, and I still haven't picked it up. I know the first DLC just dropped, and I know it's on sale for Black Friday, but I spent some other money this week. But it was that kind of discussion of like, I guess that's not going to be in my Game of the Year discussion because I'm probably going to wait for after Christmas sales to pick that one up. And it'll be, the first DLC will have dropped. The second DLC will be closer. The game just got a big gameplay patch. So it's tough to consider those for Game of the Year or for any kind of award discussion.
Well, but then if you start playing it next year and you really like it enough, could it be your Game of the Year 2025? But it didn't come out in 2025. You played it then.
Yeah.
It's a very different landscape now, I think, because games don't age as much as they used to, right?
And they get remastered or they get brought back, they get remaked, or they continue to get support. I am thinking of what is it, Stardew Valley?
Yeah.
That guy keeps or think of No Man's Sky. That game keeps getting better every year. So it's and Fortnite continues to be evolving every year. And Mark is a huge Fortnite fan. So it's very hard to say. It's almost like you almost have to define it's best product of the year it is, but then also maybe the game you love the most in the year you played it is valid as well. Because I hate to think that games get forgotten the year after that they're released because they don't feel it. For me, it was Cyberpunk 2077 Liberty City. I've always said, I'm going to wait until I can play that. My PC sucked. I'm going to wait till it gets better. So I waited till I kept on waiting because I'm like, I wanted to play it the best that it is. And then I finally started playing that, but I'm like, I accidentally started the Liberty City DLC. And I wasn't supposed to. I said I wasn't going to. And I'm like, I love this. It's the best thing ever. But I'm like, it didn't count because it wasn't. So these arbitrary rules we put out there just really kind of hurt us in a way of just enjoying what we like and celebrating the games we love.
It can be so tough as well.
Yeah.
Even again, take Star Wars Outlaws, a game that came out this year, got kind of lambasted for some of the stealth missions early on. So Todd, let's pretend that you played that at launch. You didn't like the stealth missions. You left the game, gave it a terrible score. Not for you, whatever it is. It's patched now with those stealth missions kind of taken into account, addressed. There's ways around them. There's ways if you don't feel like doing stealth, you can just brute your way through these things, go in guns blazing, Han Solo style. So if I played that game now, we're still in the same year that this was released. This isn't even me playing in 25. But it could be a very different vibe to the game. I might stick with it where I'm not approaching it as a stealth game that I usually don't like very much. I'm approaching it as a Han Solo simulator that even barring any DLC or anything, we're playing at least slightly different games, but potentially slightly different enough that they're very different experiences. So then do you go back and play this game again? Or do we just have very different opinions based on the patch leveling? And again, this is still within that same release year that it could be like, oh, this is my Game of the Year. I really loved how this happened. And you're like, what the hell game did you play? That happens.
Or because of the publisher, you say, well, I'll just wait because they always discount their games. So a lot of the audience is just not even going to experience because they'll wait until January, February, and it's now 60% off. So that's a big challenge. So that's frustrating. The other part that's always frustrating too is a lot of game awards happen before the year's done. Yeah. So it's almost like 2020. Can you even call it 2024? You kind of should just call it our Game Awards, the 20th edition or whatever, because then at least you know that we covered this period of time. Because how often is a game that got released in November, December actually getting flowers. Some games do, but I mean, I'm trying to think one of the bigger games that got released last year, Avatar. I think that was a December drop. And a lot of people really love that game, but it's like it didn't even happen because who's going to go back to say, oh, Avatar from December. Yeah, let's bring that back into the mix because, it's hard to remember the games from January. And that actually takes me into a point with the Winter Gamer. He says there should be a category for games for the first half of the year that were forgotten. I think of Prince of Persia. I loved that game.
Yeah.
That game obviously is not getting a sequel. So much the thing of the tumult. And I feel like all the bad press has stopped people embracing that game. Even though it's $15 on Walmart and Black Friday, go get it, play it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to understand what the best, and just to let you know, CJ, we always review the games just because we're tired old guys with kids and things like that. We always wait until like January, the second week of January to finally do our reviews. Basically our game of the years. We call it the couchies because we game on a couch. We do it that. And then we pick our game of the year is what the only game that the highest rated game between Mark and I. That's our game of the year. So it's hard at times.
It basically comes down to the one single game that we both played. Because otherwise, our lists are usually fairly dissimilar.
We might have to go to like number 25. By the time we hit 25, what is it? So we'll see how it goes. But we feel like that's a good way to say like we're giving flowers to a game we both enjoyed, and we both have different tastes. So it's not like we want to have that's the official one. But we do go the top 5, and then we do dark horses, and we also say some other things like that. So so people can go back and see what we picked, and they can blame us if they want, but that's okay. We are open to criticism. But with that, the CGAs got announced, and the biggest criticism was that they did open up the category of Game of the Year to include DLC. Mm-hmm. The fun part about this is the game awards, and I'm not sure. Are you part of that body? Okay.
No.
So there is 100 or so media bodies that are part of the nomination process. They nominate the games, it gets whittled in, and then they also then go down to vote for those actual winners. I think the public gets 10% of the vote is how it works. And I think the only category that's accepted to that is accessibility, which makes sense. Because if you don't have accessibility issues, you really shouldn't be commenting on it, basically, unless it helps you. Like subtitles. I think everybody likes subtitles now. It's just the way we watch media with subtitles. We love it. But, even like accessibility, I like the fact in Dragon Age, I can select the level of difficulty in each category. That's accessibility for a lot of people, which is just like, I hate puzzles, but I love combat. Or I hate combat, but I love puzzles. So even I forgot what game it was. Oh, God of War. They finally patched in the fact that the NPCs couldn't tell you how to solve a puzzle. So it's like the opposite of accessibility. It's like, stop telling me what to do. Don't help me. So yeah, with all of these, which is funny because I know Jeff gets a lot of crap, but quite honestly, Jeff he just said you can nominate it, but didn't mean that people had to nominate Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is the big one with Elden Ring, which was the game of the year last year. It was actually Baldur's Gate 3 that won last year, but Elden Ring won I believe the year before. So, and the fact is that none of the nominees, you can't see who actually nominated the games or voted for them, means that Jeff has to take all of the pain, and you don't get to actually see all of the Elden Ring stands that said, yeah, it should be there, but don't blame me because I don't want the heat. So what do you think? Should DLC be available as a game of the year? Because there was a game of the year edition, I believe, with Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erd Tree, but you still had to play Elden Ring to a certain point to get to Shadow of the Erd Tree. So it wasn't accessible to myself or Mark, who have never played the game, really. Or I played it a little bit. What about you, CJ? Where do you stand?
I think yes. I think this is actually a good move because a lot of times DLC is, I mean, it's more of the game that you love. And why, if it's something that you pump a lot of hours into or are really excited about playing, why wouldn't it be treated like any other game release? Like, I kind of feel like at this point, sure, why not? Like, if it's something that we as gamers are loving the existence of, yeah, let it be eligible for an award.
Do you think people would be happier if it was like a Elden Ring 2, Electric Boogaloo? Like, if they released it as that, like, oh, it's different then. I mean, I don't know. Because
Well,
this
it
is
would
like 40
out in 2024 then, right?
No, but if it was like they just said, we're not doing a sequel, but we're doing an expansion, but we're just going to call it a sequel, and it's $40. I mean, but they would have charged $60. It was like
Elden Ring 1.5 or something. Yeah. Does the number or the fact that it's an expansion or DLC or additional content like that, the lines are so blurred. But the slippery slope for me, I suppose, is, do ongoing games then get the same kind of recognition? Like if we had a banger season of Fortnite and everyone was like, this was like basically a new start, a new beginning, or like just the best season of Fortnite we've seen since 2018 or something like that. Like, can that then be nominated for Game of the Year?
Same with Destiny, right? Like Destiny,
not?
When it, like the Taken King,
and
that's made the game so much better. It was the best part of, this part of Destiny.
And then, the most hilarious example I can think of is like Super Mario 8 Deluxe Booster Pack. Could that make Super Mario 8 a game that came out in 2016?
Right? Yeah, we talked about that, Mark. We said the DLC for that gave that game new life.
Yeah.
And we jabbed because I'm like, that's not an expansion, it's DLC.
Yeah, the final wave came out in 2023.
Doubled the amount of courses in that game. Yeah. Would you not count that as one of the best games of the year? I mean, I think you probably would.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would for sure.
And then that new
but it is funny that I think like Super Mario Kart 8, 2014. Is that 14? Is that 10 years old?
No, I thought it was 2013, wasn't it?
13?
I don't think it was
funnier.
It might have been 13, actually.
No, release date May 29th, 2014. So the game is 10 years old. But like, I mean, even at the time that the final wave of DLC, so it should have been like last year's nominee, November of 2023. That would have been the most hilarious game of the year ever.
Yeah.
Just like double the course pack. Yeah, Super Mario 8 Deluxe wins game of the year, or would like a race, even sports game of the year. I think would have been a hilarious, but like worthwhile. Like you said, CJ, like it doubled the amount of courses. There were brand new courses, amazing remakes. Like I get it, and for a gaming landscape that is so filled with ongoing games that are getting patches, games that feel new a year or 2 years after No Man's Sky as an example, or whatever. Like there's so much here that I see what the issue is, because it does sound a little ridiculous. And of course I picked Mario Kart 8 to like exemplify the ridiculousness of like nominating a 2014 game in 2023, but like, why not? If like that's the landscape that we're in, embrace it. Don't shame a game that it's like, hey, this is 10 years and it's still going strong and it's better now than it ever was. Like, hell yeah, give them their flowers, or, give them that award. If it deserves it, it deserves it. Yeah.
What about games that never got a Game of the Year award opportunity? Minecraft. I'm trying to think of like No Man's Sky. Well, maybe No Man's Sky did. Yeah. But I mean, all these games, it's for like,
real though, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of games, or even Fortnite. I don't think Fortnite was ever up for Game of the Year, but look where it is
like
now.
Ongoing and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, but that's never a serious game, or like, one of the serious top awards.
No. I think of The Witcher 3, and they had 2 of the best expansions of all time, but they were not considered for it. And I'm like, that's one of my best experiences of the year. So
there you go.
It's very, and then if you miss the game at first and you get a game where it's like it's coming out now and you get all those new experiences together, it feels like, well, it's my game of the year. I don't know. It just feels like if it's part of the category and it's allowed, sure. And it's allowed in this category. So if it is, don't get frustrated because it's part of the rules. Play by the rules. If you want to exclude it like the Golden Joystick Awards does, that's fine. But if it's there, don't. And then everybody Game Awards can have their own distinction and rules. But it's kind of weird that we're just upset about something that quite honestly is... I mean, unless you're saying there's only... Maybe we should expand the category to have like 10 nominees so you don't feel like anybody's excluded. But even number 11 feels excluded. Believe me, when you talk about college football, I'm a big college football fan right now. There used to be 4 teams in the playoff. Before that was just 2. Now it's 12, and people will still get excluded when it's 12 teams. So I just don't know if there's a perfect recipe for this. But
well, I think the interesting thing is sort of the litmus test on this is whether Erdtree wins or not. If it doesn't, then I think people would be a lot more accepting of it. If it does, people will be like, what is this like DLC winning game of the year? That's messed up. Yeah. We'll see.
It kind of feels like media in general. I read something right before we started, so I didn't actually dive in, but I saw the title for the first time, I think ever. Every single top earning movie this year has been a sequel. Or like an existing franchise or something. Like there's not like an original kind of movie franchise.
There's no Barbie this year.
There's nothing like that, right? So it's that's pretty interesting, and I think that's kind of reflective even in the games media, like that. A lot of the stuff that we're seeing is, I don't know if it's a safe choice or whatever, but like it's building on what's already established, which makes a lot of sense.
It does.
If you already know you have a player base, if there's already something, and whether it's a sequel or a piece of DLC or an expansion or whatever, playing to that kind of safety net makes a lot of financial sense. So I'm really wondering if that's kind of like maybe just like 2024's thing is like the year of like safe bets or like, known existing properties or something like that. Like, is that, I don't know, maybe where we're at with media as well. Because if that's what
maybe
most movies are, like I'm trying to think of like maybe Wicked isn't really, I mean, it's based off of the stage production, but it's not a sequel. So like if that breaks in, maybe that will kind of break this, but everything else has been a sequel.
Well, then we got like a movie like Terrifier 3, which if you follow that like weird horror franchise, that's an indie film that costs like $100,000, now made like $80 million. So I think games find an audience. And so maybe to bring this back.
That's your Balatro.
Exactly. So the game of the years for the TGAs was Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. So out of these, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 completely new IP, unless you count the Astrobot VR game or the weird like PlayStation 5 launch, like weird, like welcome to PlayStation. Here's Astrobot. He's going to show us how to use console. I feel like we've got some new IP that feels like, oh, there's something for everybody. You've got a card game that launched on consoles now on things. You've got a platformer that people love. You've got a interesting action combat Souls like with Black Myth Wukong. And then you got Metaphor ReFantazio, which is, if you think about it, Atlas and their studios making Persona and making a whole new franchise is just a huge thing. Has found a huge audience. I don't know what you count as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but after what I know, it is essentially a different game with pieces or influences from the original games, but not this Final Fantasy VII game I played on PlayStation 1 by far, because it's got a completely different combat system and different storytelling. So the only game that I feel like is completely like going back to what you previously played is that Shadow of the Erdtree, but a lot of people would say that's the biggest expansion in history, and it added new gameplay, so that's worthy of where I spent my time. So I don't know. Is there? I mean, based on this list, is there anything you see that is missing that you feel is a detriment to gaming or to your tastes?
I don't think so. Maybe Helldivers 2 is missing off of this list.
That's a good call out, because that feels like a game series that is gaining like traction. It's huge and is now on PC, so it's now got even bigger, and it's doing something different in the multiplayer space, which we haven't seen before.
And even though there was an original Helldivers a long time ago on the Vita, no one played that.
No, no.
This is really its sort of debut as a franchise. Yeah.
I played it first with my son. My son put many hours in that game, and we just had a blast. Right. I think I ran into like nuke warheads on the ground many times, and I still died many times, even though I wasn't supposed to do that, but I still did it.
Yep.
Blame me. Mark, anything on there that, I mean, I don't know if you played any of these games.
I have Balatro on my phone. That's about it. That's really it for me. So that's the tough part, right? Because I think like something like Prince of Persia, but like I can't compare it to one of these games, right? So that's going to sit high right now on, our personal Couchy awards. Like for my list, I think, Prince of Persia is going to be up there. But I don't know if I can argue this. I've watched enough of Astrobot to know that game just looks absolutely incredible. So it's really tough to argue with any of this. And the Elden Ring thing, like I brought up before, if they had have just released this as a standalone expansion, Elden Ring 1.5, or just released a disc where if you wanted to skip that and just play Shadow of the Erdtree, like, would that make a difference with this being on there and shut people up? Like, if you consider it that way, like it adds new gameplay, it's a massive expansion. Like, does it matter? I don't think you can argue about anything on this list.
No, and it's funny because Destiny, typically when it launches something new, you're new to Destiny, here's some stuff that gets you up to speed so you can play that first thing.
Right.
Same thing with Liberty City or Liberty, blanking on the name from Cyberpunk, Liberty City. You could essentially start that mission and be ready to go if you own Cyberpunk. So you didn't have to get to a certain point in Cyberpunk. It would just start you off if you wanted to do it. Like I just stumbled my way into that.
Jumped in there, yeah.
Exactly. So maybe that's something that they could do to appease people. But to your point, I mean, like, I don't know if that happens in the future, but still, that's frustrating. I did notice best VR AR game. None of the games were included in that list of overall best games, but great games are still included in a category that still gets recognized, which is nice. But do you feel upset that those games are not elevated, or is it just too niche still for like the 100 and 200 million people that are playing games that they still need special hardware? Is that still just the reality of the current status of VR?
You mean thinking about a VR AR game for Game of the Year?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Because I think Half-Life Alyx was the only one that really got pushed.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, I think, the general gaming populace really has to accept VR, which I don't think they've done. I don't think will happen. Just kind of like mobile. It's not accepted.
Exactly the metaphor I was going to use was mobile gaming.
Yeah. It sucks because there are a lot of really good VR AR games. Asgard's Wrath is a full blown game, and people should try that game. And Arkham Shadow, same sort of deal. This is a big budget, real game, and if console gamers aren't going to get excited about it, well, too bad. But I do kind of want to see a VR game get top honors. I don't know when that's going to happen because I do think there's a stigma, and there will be for a while.
Yeah, it helps when Quest puts out a $300 headset, though. That definitely
is true. That'll get more people in the door for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So last question. Do we need better categories? So I want you gentlemen I'm going to say these categories I found that are just kind of interesting. I'm not sure if they're clear to everybody, a little vague. We have esport teams, stars. I don't know if that's more of a niche thing that why does it get that pub? Maybe it's because of the audience that Jeff is speaking to. Games for change, which I totally get what it is in my mind, but maybe not everybody does, which can be conflicting. Maybe it's setting a good message, and that's a challenge because it's a little vague. Most anticipated feels like a pre-order category, which is weird. Best adaptation, that's actually a different medium. Don't know if that matters. Best hardware. And then my biggest problem is when they combine categories where I hate that they do it because it's kind of giving short shrift to different categories. Best sim and strategy. I mean, tactical versus strategic versus turn-based versus other things. There's a lot there. And it doesn't mean the fans overlap necessarily. So it seems like that's really hurting it. Best sports versus driving. F1 versus Madden. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, it seems like two different fan bases and the people that will divide the vote. And so certain games will never get their flowers. And then action adventure versus action. I have never understood this. Is adventure just puzzles with some action? And then we have action, which is probably just an FPS game. I just feel like we need new categories or better categories to really identify what gaming is today versus what it was when, somebody said, oh, we're going to put these things in categories. I don't know. Is there a category you'd like?
Yeah, best glitch. Best bugs.
Yes. Todd, we've talked about this before, that there's so much on Twitch. There's so much being captured. There's a capture button on consoles now. Yeah. Yes. 100% CJ. Yes.
It's the category that no publisher wants to get into. Though.
No, I had goats in my attic in Dragon Age. I'm like, what are they doing up there? I don't know. It was great. I had a cyclone in Far Cry 4 that I grabbed the handle of a car and it shot the car up in the air. I'm like, that's the moment I remember for my whole year. It was great.
Hell yeah.
When we talked about this before, I think it was on last year's award show, and we talked about this category as something that I think would grab audiences that aren't hardcore gamers that wouldn't normally watch the Game Award. And this would be that memeable moment for them to jump into the more serious categories. This is the America's Funniest Videos category, the TikTok shareable category, but then it's putting eyeballs on the Game Awards. And if you put a fun, goofy video game only, because you're not going to, I don't know if you're going to get best bloopers in movies as an award or something like that, but have fun with it. You know what I mean? I think doing that instead of most anticipated, because I just, Todd, you said, it's like a commercial. It's like vaporware. It's who gives a shit if we're going to see GTA 6 for the most anticipated 17 years in a row. Just put the damn game out or shut up about it. I can't wait about, for as much as the next guy, but I don't care, but something like that, I would watch every single clip that was submitted of a crazy ass glitch in a game, 100%. But my eyes glaze over when it's hey, here's another trailer for a game that was announced 6 years ago.
I'll tell you, man, Spike VGX, I think, nailed it in 2010 when they had the biggest badass category. They're like, what are we even doing here? Let's get down to the brass tacks. Who kicks so much ass? So, CJ, so you want biggest glitch? I love that because it's essentially can be like where the public or the gamer universe comes together and they bring everything that's awesome in the world of weirdness together. I think it's awesome. Yeah. Mark, what category do you want?
I mean, I want biggest glitch, but I'll also go with like a best kill category or like that shouldn't have worked category. When you see those kind of things of like someone like falling out of the sky in a like Fortnite style game or something like that.
Yep.
They're like, I have half a split second to make this sniper shot or I'm going to splat on the ground. And they somehow make the shot and they land and it's like victory royale. It's like, that shouldn't have happened. And the Twitch streamers freaking out more than everyone else is. And it's just like those once in a lifetime moments that were somehow captured because of where modern technology is and streaming and all that kind of stuff. Like, those kind of, again, fun, memeable categories of like, how the hell did that happen? And I think that's a counter to the glitch. I think you do the glitch category and then you counter it with like, yeah, you don't think esports athletes are athletes? Like, watch the reaction time on this kid. Watch the skill of this guy who shot a rocket launcher at a gun. The gun flew to him. He caught it in the air and then got the winning headshot in Halo or something. Like we've all seen those clips and I'm sure there's like a few running through everyone's head that's listening right now. Those kind of like video game only, this is a really cool medium. Let's not try to copy the Oscars. Let's celebrate some of the cool, wacky, fun shit that happens in this medium. Those kind of awards.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think of like Tears of the Kingdom when people could like construct things and they just found the weirdest way to like make traversal happen and do these things. Even in Echoes of Wisdom, they found ways to manipulate all of those things to win a race or something like that. So I think Game Awards should be prestigious, but also of the time as well. What was happening in the industry or like what was going on in the world of like memeable moments. So I think between glitch and like those type of things, I think those are great because you will forget those things. But when people remember the Leroy Jenkins, the things like that, I think it makes gaming special, right?
Absolutely.
Or arrow to the knee or something like that, where it just feels like it makes gaming feel special because sometimes gaming feels very like everybody's doing something different, but there's certain things that we all get and it brings us all together. So it's almost like that community moment of the year. I don't know. Something like that would be great. Yeah. This is another category that I want to bring up. Cyber Vixen of the Year in 2006 for the VGX. So we've come a long way. And it was Alex Vance from Half-Life 2. She's a vixen? No.
Sure.
No. Okay. It's just very, very weird.
No comment.
I would say category. I definitely want action adventure, and I want it broken up. I want to have a shooter category, just because shooters are so ubiquitous. They shouldn't be brought in and take on a game like Astrobot or something like that. They should just definitely be like a shooter, FPS, whatever you want to call it. But I feel like that type of game category is it's easier to glom onto what it is, but also understand the big games that are against it, like COD, and then maybe you get like a Warhammer Space Marine. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of to make sure those games, because when was the last time Call of Duty won Game of the Year award? It doesn't, but it should still get something if it's that good. So. Yeah. Well, that is it for our show. Thank you so much, CJ, for being on. This was really fun. Before we go, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you have a great Thanksgiving. By the way, what is your favorite Thanksgiving part of the meal?
The stuffing. I'm a stuffing.
Not a dressing? Not stuffing?
Not dressing. Yeah, stovetop or whatever you got. I like good stuffing. Yeah,
excellent.
Good.
So
And gravy.
tell people. Oh, gravy's great. Cranberry sauce, if you want to put that in everything. You do you.
Yeah.
Tell people where they can find you, what you're up to, and what they should look out for.
Well, you can find me on social media as Super-Pac. That's SUPERPAC. Pac-Man, like we were talking about earlier, that's a reference there. Although every political season, I get a lot of replies accidentally, and it really bothers me. But and then the podcast, player1podcast.com or at P1podcast on all the socials. And then I work for Enhance, who makes Tetris Effect Connected, Res Infinite, and Humanity. And buy all of those games. They're going to be on sale for, various holiday sales, and they're all awesome. And yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome.
Excellent. I can't wait to see what you guys do next in VR. It's always something that really feels like it changes the just the industry going forward.
Well, hopefully so. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mark, where can you be found?
You can find me. I have not joined Blue Sky. I feel like I should
do it, man.
I know.
Now
Everyone
is
else
the
has.
time.
Now is the time if you want to make your own path. Yeah.
I'm late to the game. But you can find me. So far, Instagram, Threads, and I promise I will go on Blue Sky and try to get the same username. So Canardian_Jedi. And we'll see if I'm blue skying by next week.
All right. I have joined Blue Sky. I love it compared to Threads. The just some of the things they do in there is really cool. You can actually create a basically almost like a starter pack of people or groups you love, and then share those out in the world. I love that because it's a great way to make sure your followers are following all their awesome people. So I'm at Todd Oxtra on Blue Skies, at Secret Friends Unite on Blue Skies, at T Oxtra, at Secret Friends Unite on Threads. Follow us there. We'd love to have you join us. And you know what? If you like football, we do a fantasy football podcast, and many people do that. So we do that, and we're very nerdy. We're the waiver wire wizards. So there you go. So with that, CJ, Mark, thank you. And remember, folks, it's always better to game together.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.